My background is journalism, so I've worked for about 18 years as a journalist. I've worked as an editor, features writer, news editor and sub-editor on a range of niche and mainstream media, both on staff and as a freelancer in the UK, where I'm originally from, the US and Australia. As mentioned previously, I actually have a column in Forbes, on Forbes.com, which is the iconic business publication, and I specialise in writing about the vegan and plant-based business sector, which I think goes to show just how far we've come when the editors of that kind of magazine say, yeah, we want you to write about vegan and plant-based business. You'll notice behind me I've got some logos in there. Those are just a small sample of some of the places that I've either written for or I've been quoted in or interviewed for. Very quick tip, when you get coverage for your vegan business or your non-profit, make sure you do this as featured in and grab those logos, because it really lends credibility to you and your brand and your venture, okay? Now, I've only got 20 minutes to talk to you today, so I'm not going to pile in a whole load of strategies because that wouldn't be terribly productive. What I'm going to do is focus on one particular aspect of how to get free media coverage, and that is something that's already been discussed today, and it's the most important aspect, and that is stories. Sharing your stories. As human beings, we are hardwired to love stories. Every time we go, I think Lee Rhiannon mentioned, when we go out to meet people and we hang out over dinner or we go on a date, we get to know, like and trust each other by sharing our stories. Stories challenge our minds, they pique our emotions, they lift our spirits, and they impact our values. The key with media coverage is to pitch the right story to the right journalist or media outlet at the right time. What I'm going to do today, as this is the Plant-Powered Women's Conference, I'm going to share with you a couple of stories that I wrote about in my column on Forbes, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why I chose them, because I hope that will give you a bit of an insight into how journalists think and the process we go through to decide what stories to run or not. So I'm going to share with you the story of two fantastic female vegan entrepreneurs. The first is Laura Way from Watch. Tracy already modelled her brand, her vegan watch. Now, in August 2014, Laura was spending up to 20 hours a day lying in a bathtub to try and relieve herself from the excruciating pain she was in because the skin on her entire body had dropped off. Now, the reason this had happened was because since she was a very little child, Laura suffered from eczema, so the doctors put her on steroid creams. So for nearly 30 years, she'd been on these steroid creams. But in 2014, she decided no more. She was going to stop taking them. So in conjunction with a health practitioner, she stopped taking the creams. And her skin, it was like an addict. Her skin was so used to these steroid creams that it literally went into withdrawal. The condition is actually called topical steroid withdrawal. She had pus and it was dripping, and it literally, the skin on her whole body fell off, and she was in terrible pain. Now, Laura at the time was working as a TV producer for an advertising agency. She was working for brands like the BBC and other big names. She was a bit of a high flyer. She was living with her husband in an apartment in London, but the apartment had no bathtub. So when she got topical steroid withdrawal condition, she needed to move in with her mother so that her mother could care for her, and her mother had a bathtub. Now, Laura had to give up work as well, of course, because she simply couldn't work in that condition. While she was spending those 20 hours a day in the bathtub, she educated herself on animal rights and animal documentaries. She was already vegetarian and had recently gone vegan, but she wanted to learn more. So she watched these documentaries. Then one day, the strap on her watch, her favourite watch, broke. And she said to me that because she had experienced the pain of losing her own skin, there was no way she was ever going to buy a product that used the skin of a once living being. So she hunted around for vegan watch straps, couldn't find anything she liked, so she started Watch. Now, when Laura approached me, She already had a really successful business story. She launched her business, Watch, in August 2016. So she's only been going for 18 months. She's still in startup phase, but she's already on course to make £250,000, which is almost $500,000 Australian dollars. So for other business magazines, that alone would be an interesting story. But what really got Laura over the line for me to want to share her story is her willingness to share her personal story, to share her vulnerabilities, to be very open about the struggle that she'd gone through. So if you've got a business and you've got a brand, think about your founder stories, you as the owner or founder. What are your stories? Why do you do what you do? We've heard some fantastic stories today from some of the business owners and Lee Rhiannon in politics and others about their journey and how they got there. So be brave and share your stories, because that can get you over the line in terms of media coverage. So this is the headline that I used for Forbes. It was how a debilitating skin condition led a TV producer to start a vegan watch company. So it's not clickbaity, but it's an interesting headline. It makes people curious, okay? And that's what journalists are looking for. They're looking for that something extra. We're looking for that something a bit special. The other vegan female entrepreneur whose story I want to share with you is Anna Tagliabue. And Anna is from Italy. She's from Milan, but she's lived in New York for over 20 years. And she's a real fashionista. Anna's first job when she came to New York over 20 years ago was at Fendi, the store that is well known for its luxury furs, real furs. Anna said to me, at the time, even though she was working at Fendi, there were people from PETA outside with their banners, chanting down with fur. And Anna was kind of like, she was working in Fendi, but she was thinking, I'm really with you guys. So the seeds were planted way back then. She knew one day she wanted to start a luxury faux fur company. It took a long time and research because she didn't want to just start any old thing. But 4 years ago, she decided to launch Peluche. All the products are handmade. I've actually met Anna. I was there in New York last year and met her at her studio. I've touched these products, I've worn them. They're beautifully handcrafted. They look and feel like the real thing, like real fur, but they're not. This is German opera singer Diana Damrau, who borrowed one of Anna's coats to wear for the photo shoot for her CD cover. Beautiful products. But when Anna approached me, she had a show coming up for New York Fashion Week. And she started her email to me as, first and foremost, I'm an animal activist. And then she started to share her story. And she talked about her shows and the fact that, yes, the models were going down the runway. They weren't walking like this, they were probably doing that model walk, but I tend to walk a bit camp, apparently. But yes, the models are still walking down the runway. It's probably the glitter boots. They're walking down the runway, so it's like a New York Fashion Week in that sense, but there's so much more to it. One, Anna is very dramatic. As she said, she's Italian, so she has dramatic music to open it. Every single part of the show is choreographed. But what she does is she brings activism into it. So she gets her models, all of whom are animal activists of different ages. They start by wearing t-shirts with messages like this one that says, cats are used in fur trim and trinkets. She gets her models dressed in her beautiful clothes to walk down the runway with placards. So you know how you've got PETA, the animal activists, who often hijack shows at New York Fashion Week of designers who are using real fur, and they jump up on the stage and then get thrown out by security. Anna actually builds this into her New York Fashion Week shows. She collaborates with non-profits. This is a rescued wolf dog that she had featured in her show. She also had rabbits there. She collaborated with a local rabbit rescue place, and she had rabbits there who were available for adoption. So this was a no-brainer already. When Anna contacted me, I'm like, yeah, duh, of course I want to write about her. But there was one extra thing about Anna that made me kind of go even more go, yes, of course. She got a phone call from a celebrity stylist who said, Helen Mirren would like to wear one of your coats to the opening of a film that she's in, Collateral Beauty. So Anna said, oh, of course, you know. Anyway, the stylist came to collect this coat, and Anna handed her an anti-fur pin, like a little pin button thing that says no to fur. And she says, look, will you give this to Helen? Ask her if she'd be willing to wear it. If she says no, it's fine, she can still wear the coat, but ask her if she'd wear the anti-fur pin. Helen Mirren, being as cool as she is, obliged, and this image got a huge amount of media coverage. So mainstream media loved it because, again, I mean, look, Helen Mirren could get media coverage just by stepping out of her front door or turning up at the premiere. But the fact that there was this added element, it makes journalists even more interested. So not only did mainstream media cover this, but of course loads of animal rights and vegan media covered it as well, which was obviously great for Anna's brand too. And that's another little aside. So if your business or brand has been endorsed by a celebrity in any way, make sure you capitalise on that. Like it or not, we live in a celebrity-obsessed culture. If you have a celebrity who supports your cause and is willing to do something for you, make sure you use that because it will get the media's interest. This is the headline I used for Anna's story. This vegan entrepreneur is taking on the $40 billion fur industry. And Helen Mirren approves. I did that on purpose because I knew by putting Helen Mirren in the title that it would be a good search, SEO search, and that not only regular business people who read Forbes would see it, the vegans would see it, but also fans of Helen would see it. So again, this is the kind of things that journalists are looking for, particularly online nowadays. Journalists are now, we're publishing stories that have to be of interest to our audience, but also shareability is really important. This is a new development. When I trained as a journalist back before email and online, none of this really came into play, but now stories are often designed on their shareability, so the more stories likely to be shared. So these are the kinds of headlines that they're thinking, and when you're pitching to journalists, you want to try and be thinking of your subject header as potential interesting interest-piquing headlines. So I hope that's given you a bit of an insight into the way journalists think and how not only your business story or the story of your non-profit is of interest, but your founder stories are of interest. So I want you to think about what are your stories. If you employ staff or volunteers, if you have a non-profit, find out their stories. What do they do when they're not working for you? That can get local media coverage wherever they're living. If they're doing something particularly interesting and the local media does a story about them, your business, your brand, or your non-profit could get a mention. So make sure you include them. And of course, animal stories. Now, it's been a piggy day today, hasn't it? We had Picasso earlier, who was gorgeous, and I'm sure some of you know the beautiful girl, Esther the Wonder Pig. Your animals don't have to be as famous as Esther, but they could be. But do share their stories, because one thing media is really looking for is good quality images and video. One organisation here in Australia does this beautifully, Edgar's Mission. Pam Ahern, wonderful vegan leader, advocate. She makes beautiful videos and images of rescued farmed animals, positive and uplifting, that really change how people view farmed animals. Instead of seeing them as just things to eat, they are shown as full, rounded human beings with lives and emotions. And media really like that. So Pam's stuff's been picked up, Edgar's Mission's been picked up by The Age, the Sydney Morning Herald, One Green Planet in the US. So sharing these on social media as well helps you to get on the radar of media, who will then often share stories. Because one downside to particularly mainstream media, and I was talking about this when I was being interviewed for the Supreme Master TV earlier today, is that mainstream media does focus a lot on bad news, negative news, drama, conflict, and all of that kind of thing. But they do like to balance it every now and then with positive, uplifting things, and they're often looking for free content. So if you're a business and you've made a cool video, or you're a non-profit and you've made a cool video, and you can offer that to the media, they'll be delighted because they haven't got to spend money creating that content, which is not great for professional photographers or videographers, I know, but again, this is where we're at, and I'm just talking to you about the potential opportunities for you. So I want to give you a little exercise that you can do today, which I teach people in I've got an online PR course and on group coaching program, and I teach people this little exercise, is to figure out 5 fun facts that most people probably don't know about you. I know sometimes a lot of people think, oh, I'm not very interesting, I don't know what my stories are. And this is something you can put on your website, on your social, and share this. Jasmine had a wonderful example this morning that she's got a diploma in synchronized swimming. So stuff like that. So don't panic. I'm not asking you to reveal your deepest, darkest, most intimate secrets. Often when I say this to people, everyone goes, I can't share that. But I'm not asking you to share that kind of thing. It's just you might have a quirky hobby, something, a little bit interesting or out there. Make sure it's legal. Okay, that will be my only proviso, and not harming anybody else. So have a think about those. I'm going to give you a very quick example. These are some of the ones I've got on my website. So it could be 5 facts, it could be 7, it could be 9. Between 5 and 7 is a good idea. So I've played a lesbian vampire in a short film. I was adopted and I'm in touch with both my birth parents. I'm half Persian by birth. My birth father is Persian, lives in New York. I met Lauren Bacall, and those of you who are too young to know, golden age mega Hollywood film star. I met her at the age of 18 outside the Haymarket Theatre in London. I was incredibly excited and starstruck. In my 20s, I've been chased by riot police through fields protesting against a farm that bred kittens for vivisection. In 2005, the Adelaide Advertiser gave me an Oscar, which is their version of the Oscar, for a one-woman character comedy show that I did called Kitty Minge, Good Time Girl in a Big Bad World. And finally, I once flummoxed Sophia Loren, another golden-aged Hollywood film star, when I asked her what her views were on marriage equality. Sophia was over here in Sydney about 10 years ago for the Italian Film Festival. I was working for the Gay and Lesbian Press at the time, so I put my hand up at this press conference she was at, and I asked her what she thought of marriage equality, and she looked very bemused, and she went, I don't want to talk about this, so let's just talk about movies. I didn't care. Sophia Loren spoke to me. So look, it doesn't matter if I'm not saying you have to meet celebrities or anything like that. I'm just trying to give you an example of some things that you wouldn't otherwise include in it doesn't naturally flow in your about or your official bio, but you can stick it in this little section on your website and in your online media kit. I know when I've been interviewed by other media, a lot of journalists will pull from this because it gives you a bit of extra colour and interest. So if you're a thought leader and an expert, and a journalist is looking to quote you and your expertise, and there's 5 other people who have got similar expertise to you, but you've got a little bit of this on your website, that can get you over the line and get you chosen because it makes you a bit more interested. So I know we've got a jam-packed session and I'm almost out of time. So if you would like to go to veganbusinessmedia.com, there's a lot of free tips on there in the form of blog posts and a podcast that I host on marketing and media and how to run a successful business. You can also find out about my book, Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business. Note how I'm promoting myself and I don't have any problems with it. Please get over your fears of promoting your business or your brand or your cause because the animals need you. There's 1 copy left. I've actually sold loads today, which is awesome. Yay me. Okay. And I also run, as I mentioned, a 12-month online PR course and group coaching program for vegan business owners and entrepreneurs. It's called Vegans in the Limelight. And we need more vegans in the limelight. We need more vegan women in the limelight. Do you agree? Yes. Absolutely. I know there's a couple of my students here. There's 3, I think, Robin, Claire, Joanne, Bianca. I hope I haven't missed anybody out. They're all awesome and they're getting themselves out there in the media, and it's really important that you do that. You've heard some wonderful stories today. I hope you've been inspired by that, and I hope that you will go out there publicly within your communities and of course in the media and share your stories and make a difference. Thank you.